Kyle.
How you doing, brother?
I'm well, man. How are you?
Very well.
How have the ice baths been?
Dude, incredible. It's great to be consistent with it because you have that voice come in and say, I'll get to it. I'll do it tomorrow. And you just do it. And it's like, just a great way to get into the mind and realize that you're a lot stronger sometimes than your mind will tell you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a really beautiful space to like revisit forgotten strength,
Definitely.
remembered strength.
Yep.
Um, Reese, where are you in LA?
Yeah, I'm here in LA.
Where in LA?
Hancock Park.
Where's that?
Not far from where. Oh wait, where did I first meet you? What was that studio that used to be in La Brea?
Liberation.
Yeah, around like not far from there.
Okay. Cause
Like,
Kyle's
like
doing these ice baths every morning. Kyle and his like community out there in Santa Monica,
oh
and
yeah, we built a cold plunge, and this morning we set it at 40 degrees. So we've been going uh, relatively colder each day.
oh nice.
Anytime you want to cruise, you're welcome, bro. Thank you.
Let's just make this a
And
little
if you
more
wanted to do these
challenging.
meditations, yeah, if you wanted to do these meditations in person, you can come by the space. It was in his original email. Oh, is this the space that you? Right. Okay. I saw that email.
Yeah.
Also, loved the words you shared yesterday, bro. Very poetic. Thank you.
Yeah, they were good,
Yes,
Reese. They were
yes.
good. Inspiring. I listened back. Good morning, everyone. Let's do this. So I was just processing our journey up to this point, and what's beautiful about that is, and I'm sharing this because I think this is a quality of any journey, especially intentional ones, um, is that as you step along the path, and I guess before getting into the rest of the metaphor, it'd be powerful for us to consider a journey that we're actually on, right? You're all on some sort of journey, and one of them, we're all on many journeys, and one of them might be a little bit more, you know, enriched, meaningful to you right now. And so you just pick that, boom. So you're on a journey, I'm on a journey, life's a journey. And as we step along this path, the environment, the nature of that journey comes into reality, right? You don't know necessarily what's around the corner. You don't know what's coming up in the next moment. I don't know because it hasn't existed yet where this challenge is going. Kinda know. Aurelius, meditation, but the details kind of emerge. Um, and so with that, I was contemplating, and I think I'm going to introduce the Tao Te Ching because I was having very similar conversations with my brother about feeling and experiencing quality and not thinking. And what results is more thinking about thinking, thinking about not thinking. And the Tao Te Ching uses, in its brilliance, very few words in a poetic frame to really allow a mind that is able and willing, and only a mind that is able and willing, to touch this essence of quality or the way or the Tao. And so we're just going to marry. Yesterday we did this little exercise, which we will continue to do, of pivoting into meditation for like a couple minutes. It's not a big deal. And in that, I'll recite selected verses from the Tao Te Ching. And that this is our opportunity to really hone into the experience of quality. And after that, if and only if there are questions on your end about quality, or about the absence of quality, the yearning for quality, or the satisfaction of quality, and or the way. If you have questions, then we can talk about that. But those questions are after the fact. Sweet. Let's do this. So, quick pivot into meditation. Do your thing. One detail I'd like to get into for this month, for this challenge, is wrists on knees or hands in lap. Experiment, but work to actually feel what statistically should be felt by most of you, which is a shift from overt power, wrists on knees, wider frame, to a more dignified power, hands in laps, torso narrow. 2 minutes starts now. So we are learning to soften the mind and rest in the essence of what now is. The essence of what now is. The Tao, the way, the river of things. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. Be there. From where you are, invite a smile. From where you are, welcome goodness. Invite the smile and welcome goodness. And from there, receive in your body as peace. And from there, receive with your body as peace. The Tao. that thing that when spoken of, that thing that when spoken of take 2 more breaths. All right, breath in, open your eyes. Cool. Hard ending. I didn't know where to go. And I'm curious where you went with that, if you picked up on that. But that's a side note. Any questions on that? Any questions? Everyone could do that? Everyone felt that in their own way? You're happy with what you felt? Cool. Nothing has to be said. So I said, I was trying to like weave in that phrase from the Tao Te Ching, and then I just didn't know where to go. That thing that when spoken of. I was like, fuck. That thing that when spoken of. Doesn't make sense. And so there's confusion on my part, and this is the beauty. Did you pick up on that? Was there anticipation for like a finalization of the idea? Yeah? Cool. And what did that feel like? What was the quality of that moment? What's up, Christine?
Hey, just to answer your question, for me, I was so in my own experience that I didn't even notice if you stumbled, you know? And the goodness brings tears. It brings a smile and tears.
That's amazing. Dharana, when you are so absorbed in your experience, the stumbling of the outside world doesn't matter. I had like a really powerful experience of that during COVID. I was like, the world is legit falling apart right now in a way that I have never seen. And it is the best year of my life. How is this happening? How is this possible? And so, you know, that organization into what we choose. Sweet. For anyone that did have, you know, was with me in that little ride, can you articulate what you felt in your body?
It was kind of like a anticipation, like almost a little bit of a stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, what's next? Like, all right. And then so my mind just started kind of plugging in the missing words on my own.
What'd you come up with?
Oh,
The Tao that can... I don't even remember what it was, yeah. And so all of this...
I think you said the Tao that when spoken of.
The Tao that when spoken of. Does that ring a bell, Sophia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Tao that when spoken of. I was kind of going along lines of like, has no form or shape or...
If only we shared minds. So the reason we're talking about this is because there's a feeling of tightening, which affects the river's clarity. And it's natural and inevitable and will always happen. But it is tethered to anticipation of the future, tethered to the mystery of the unknown, especially when we anticipate something, you know. And so that's a little example, a little moment that otherwise would be entirely forgotten, but if analyzed and sat with, a little moment like a little flower in the great meadow, like, be with flowers, psychic flowers, reveals the same wisdom and the same limitations of ourselves. Not bad. Limitations are not bad. But it reveals them, especially in our capacity to exist in the Tao, eternally, or when we're not. So, cool, sweet. Anyways, little Taoism, little meditation. And I guess the idea coming from yesterday is we were talking about how this process is like emptying the cup. Remember? Like when you're there in the Tao, when you all were doing what you're doing, that is the emptying of the cup. And the more you sit in that space, the more your cup empties, which means the more it can be filled, metaphorically. And so what do we fill the cup with? What we're talking about is quality. We're trying to fill our cups with the quality of things. So think about alphabet soup. You take all the letters out. And so it's just the quality of the broth. Does that work? Metaphor? Alphabet soup, you have a bunch of letters which create ideas and words and concepts. So many. And so you just dump all of those symbols out and rest in the wordlessness. So we fill our emptiness with quality. And the quality that we're filling it up with for this challenge is the quality, not necessarily the quotes, but the quality of Aurelius's notions, which are perennial wisdom that is always true, at least their essence. The phrasing, the specifics of how that core is articulated is another thing. But again, our practice is the quality and positioning that within our emptiness. Awesome. Cool. So, first question. We were talking about fate yesterday. Where does fate lead? Where does fate lead? And so I want you to think more in terms of time and space, not personality. Where does space lead in terms of the physical, temporal world that we exist in? Maya, the matrix, the simulation, the dream. Where does fate lead? Thailand? Maybe yours. Mars? That's what Elon thinks. Where does fate lead? Okie dokie, I think we're good. I'm very curious. Where does fate lead? Kasha. Morning, Kasha.
Good morning. I just put sincerity and peace.
Cool.
Lead to feeling sincere and peaceful.
Amazing. And for you, where do you feel most serene and peaceful?
When I sit and meditate.
Okay, cool. So that's an interesting correlation. Fate leads to B, which is serenity and peace, and I feel the most serene and peaceful at C, at meditation, but many places. Cool. Anyone else? Where does fate lead? George.
The first thing that came to mind for me is ultimately it leads to death.
Ooh. How so?
I guess that's for all of us, our ultimate final destination. At least in this chapter. And what I also wrote is, until then, it hopefully contains within it and leads to many adventures, lessons, and experiences.
Beautiful. Um, yeah, it's like memento mori, remember death. And this phrase, this Latin phrase, absolutely. The dissolution, the nothingness, right? It's like if we go back to the phrasing of the Tao Te Ching, it's like that nameless thing, when we become nameless, formless, when we're no longer spoken of. You know, a couple generations, I imagine that is the peaceful truth, the complete forgetting of your entire existence. You know, that is the destiny. And in return, the reason I'm highlighting that is the quality, the adjectives around a full death, the disappearance of your name from language, from the minds of others, matches how the Taoists are expressing the way, the Tao, in a lot of ways, right? Unspoken, nameless. They don't say formless, but same. Cool. Death. Always good to remember that. And so the quality, let's just take a second and feel. It literally takes 3 seconds. Oh yeah, I will pass. Slow the breath. Oh yeah. That is my fate. Awesome. Little pivot. Anyone else? Last one. Where does fate lead?
I'll build on that if that's okay. I said the pure knowing in the end, because we all have different fates, and so I was trying to think of a universal. And no matter if we've had a really successful life or a really difficult life, we all know in the end, that like last moment, I feel like there's a knowing.
Okay. I love that. I look forward to that possibility. A great knowing. I imagine, I dream. One reason I meditate is I imagine like as we die and our bodies and shells and homes, you know, like metaphorical homes and structures dissipate as it all decays, that our consciousness like spreads out, probably into, right? It's probably like strangely hyperdimensional. And the more conscious we are, the more of that expansion we can bear. If we don't practice our consciousness, then the tsunami, the flood of all experience is way too much. But if we can practice our minds in this act of relinquishing, maybe we get more and more and more and more and more and more. You know, maybe you get to the Stone Age and you start to remember all that. And maybe if you practice a little more, you get to like the Jurassic. And you're like, oh, dinosaurs. Practice a little more, you get off Earth. Practice a little more, you can contain. Anyways, yes, the possibilities of death, and a beautiful reason to meditate. Cool. Let's get into the quote of Aurelius, and I think this will illuminate another place that your fate leads. I think, Kasha, you were on it a little bit. Very close. Not that there's a right or wrong, in case your brain went there. Cool, here's the quote. And we'll spend some time, Julian, so maybe you want to write it down. And so Aurelius, again, is probably sitting in that same chair, with those same candles, in that same empire. If you've seen the present, then you've seen everything. If you've seen the present, then you've seen everything. It's a nice one. So where does fate lead? Forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone and remember. Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Forget everything else. Are you doing that? Forgetting everything else? Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each of us lives only now. Each of us lives only now. As you write, this is the only place you live. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. This brief instant. The rest has been lived already. The rest has been lived already, or impossible to see. Or impossible to see. And so where does fate lead? Many places, but now. When you die, it will be now. Not then. But it will be now. That's like another sort of layer of fate. Like everyone gets that one. Cool. And so I think that's a beautiful way of just pushing this idea forward. Another thing is Aurelius, his book, Meditations, it's just essentially a journal. It wasn't really organized in terms of anything. It's just like day to day, this is some advice for myself, this is some insight I gained. But people that study it have extracted themes that he orbited, and one of them was presence, And so just to highlight the significance of that. At a certain point, the human mind is something that can ping pong in time. We can go to the future, we can go in the past very well, maybe too well. Presence becomes a cornerstone moment. The recognition that presence is deeply, 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 deeply significant for our well-being. So Aurelius got that too, as he should. Insightful guy. Presence. The lesson of presence is always there. Cool. So let's do this. We're going to meditate in the Tao. Become our emptiness physically. Peace. And then gently, the quality, this should be easy, the quality of presence. Let the quality of presence, which is distinct from the quality of, let's say, gratitude, let the quality of presence fill your emptiness. Let the quality of presence fill your emptiness. And in that, assume your fate, which is goodness. Your fate because life changes in the name of goodness. As delicately as possible, deepen your inhale. As minimally as possible, deepen your inhale. Minimally. But find great change in that millimeter of difference. Find great change in that millimeter of difference. If you've seen the present, then you've seen everything. fill your emptiness with presence. And remember, that is fate. forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already or impossible to see. Again, minimally deepen the inhale. Minimally elongate the exhale. And find great change in that tiny difference. Cool nerves to create emptiness. Calm body to create silence. In closing, spontaneous thought, notice that. Thoughts your mind generates on its own. Sensation, notice that. The feedback of your body against the world. Controlled thought. The controlled thought is you're about to end your session. Death of practice. Even our practice must die. And with an inhale, open your eyes. Cool. Now, last writing prompt. Haiku. Write a haiku to the present moment. To the present moment. Haiku, first line, 5 syllables. Second line, 7 syllables. Third line, 5 syllables. 5, 7, 5. Poetry is a way of communicating the nameless. Go 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds to find a syllable. Lovely. Who wants to share? Haiku. Julian.
Present to the now, flowing moment to moment. Breathe outside, inside. Forget the future.
Nice, man. Forget the future. Anyone else want to share? Let's do 3 shares.
I know it is here, yet feel that it isn't quite what it may seem.
Anyone else?
To this brief moment, instant yet everlasting, bow in reverence.
Awesome. I'll read mine. I'm unsure you know exactly how stupendous your company is. All right, everybody. What is today? The 3rd day, 4th day? 4th day. Already losing track. The idea, again, to take it with you is your fate is to be present. And I guess the beautiful and practical value of that is when you are present, that sort of feeds into the capacity to experience what I believe is a personal fate, something that's more familiar as our dreams, our personal goals, whatever that is. But those personal visions for our lives can only be built upon and enacted from the now. So general fate, be here in this moment to experience your fate. Make sense? Cool. You all have a beautiful one. See you guys tomorrow. Namaste. Enjoy that cold water. Enjoy your beautiful, beautiful moment. Okay, cheers.
Blessings.
Blessings, blessings, blessings. Pax, can't forget that.